أهلا، أنا محمد إبراهيم وهذه قناة نباتي. طيب اوكي، كنت بسوي المقدمه والجزء هذا من الفيديو كله بس له كتابه بحط لكم شكرا ومع السلامه. قلت لازم اشكركم شخصيا، وصلنا 80,000 مشترك على القناه، شكرا لكل واحد منكم لان بدون كل واحد منكم ما كان وصلنا 80,000، فشكرا لكم كلكم على الدعم، على الاشتراك، على السبسكرايب، على اللايك بكل فيديو. لا تنسون تسوون لايك حق الفيديو لان ترى هذا الشيء الوحيد يقول حق اليوتيوب ان الفيديو عجبكم. فالمهم الفيديو هذا هو الجزء الثاني للمقابله او الفيديو الاول اللي سويته الاسبوع الماضي. بهذاك الفيديو سوينا مقابله مع جدتنا الأمريكية، وبالفيديو ذا راح نسوي او راح نكمل المقابله هذه. وايش بعد؟ One thing that I wanted to ask you about also is, do you feel comfortable talking about your background, you know, just where you come from? I didn't know about your background until maybe 2 months, 2 months into my stay here, and you started telling me about your German background and how you came to the US. Do you mind just telling me and the camera about it?
First of all, I have a sister who is 3 years older than me. And she and her husband, when they got married in Germany.
So you were born in Germany and you grew up in Germany.
And they immigrated to Canada.
Okay.
And I was by myself.
Was her husband also German?
Yes. Yeah. And I had always wanted to travel. I mean, I didn't care where I went. When I was a little kid, my sister always got to go somewhere with not strangers, but people that, you know. And she always wanted to come home like the day afterwards, you know. She'd call and she'd say, I want to come home. And I went to my mother and I said, why don't you let me go? I'm not going to call you, you know, because I loved being somewhere else. Not that I didn't like my house, I was just curious. When my sister immigrated, I thought, you know, I would want to do that. And then when I met my husband, who was a GI.
What does that mean?
Soldier.
Okay, what does GI stand for?
GI?
General something?
You know, I don't even know.
Well, he was an American soldier.
Yes.
Okay, American soldier in Germany.
Right. It was totally accidental. We had outside of town, we had a big lake that people would swim. And I would take my bicycle and I would go there. It was quite a ways, but I loved bicycling. And so I would sit in the sun and do it. And there one day, there was a blanket not far away with soldiers, you could tell, because they all had those haircuts. And they were not supposed to be at places like that. You know, they did it because it was a nice place to be. And all of a sudden there was a rainstorm. It just came all of a sudden. And I'm sitting there on my blanket and my English was fairly good. I had 6 years of English in school.
Okay, how old were you at the time? Do you remember?
17.
Graduated high school, kind of. Okay.
So the one soldier asked me if he could give me a ride home. And I was kind of leery, but I also didn't want to get so drenched at going home. And I said, okay. And he had one of those big Oldsmobile things, you know, and he put my bike in the trunk and took me home. And that was the start. We started to date. My mother wasn't thrilled, but, you know.
Was she not thrilled because you were young and dating, or was it because he's
young
not German?
And he was a soldier, and he was from a foreign country, and she didn't understand a word he was saying. I mean, there was all kinds of things. He would come for dinner, and he was very picky about food. I didn't know that at the time, but he would play with his food, you know, and only eat certain things. I got mad at that later on when we got married. You know, he was just as difficult then. I think that was one of the attractions.
The difference,
right? And when he proposed, I thought, I'm not saying that I married him because I wanted to go to America. That wasn't it. But it was an adventure. And so it was a combination. It sounded wonderful. It sounded exciting, you know. And that's how I got to Pennsylvania. Immediately got pregnant.
And you were 18
you
at
were
that
18,
time?
yeah.
Okay. And that was common back then, right?
Yeah.
When you got married, did you have the intention that I'm moving to the US, not coming back to Germany?
Oh, yeah. I was immigrating. I never thought that I would come back to live permanently in Germany.
I mean, obviously you've been in the US most of your life now, so you're fully American, with an American mindset. So when you go back to Germany, do you notice that people are different?
Oh, yeah. But they're now, if you want to call it Americanized, they are more global than there used to be. There was no need for Germany, for example, or for German people to learn other languages, and they learned other European languages, and gradually they realized that that English was a very important part of it. But they kept their own culture. You know, it wasn't that easy. But then, of course, with phones and all that, you got Americanized.
Do you think German people think differently than the US in global issues like, you know, global warming?
One thing that happened, and that's not so long ago, is I was very surprised how open German people were to accepting foreign refugees, and that has changed Germany forever. You know, but I really surprised at how willing they were to accept them. But I mean, they were open. They were building places to live and have language classes and have places where you could learn a different way to make a living.
And now you visit Germany often, right?
I have gone every couple of years, but not as much as I wanted to, because I wanted to travel other countries too. I've been to China, I've been to India, I've been, you know, you name it, I've been there. I'm glad I did it, because now I can't do anything anymore.
Right.
I cannot go back to Germany as a citizen, because when I took the American citizenship, it was forever. I had to drop my German citizenship. But I never really missed it, because I never really had any intentions of living there full time.
When you migrated to the US, was it difficult for you to assimilate?
It was relatively easy. I think primarily because I embraced being an American from the beginning. I like different things. The only thing I missed was German bread.
Oh.
White bread was disgusting. Now we have all kinds of different breads.
You have whole wheat sourdough.
You go to a German bakery, and I have pictures of bakeries when I was there 2 years ago. I mean, it's like 50 different kinds of breads. Or 30, it would be realistic. And that's the only thing I really missed. Bread. As a matter of fact, my sister and I have something when we talk to each other, and we talked about people, for example, and she said, oh, I met this person, and I said what she liked, and she'd say, white bread. In other words, uninteresting.
Right.
You know, that would be one way to identify.
A lot of my viewers or people that follow me are similar to my age, people that are just, you know, graduating, starting their career. I know this is cheesy, but do you have any advice?
I'm not saying that I know a lot of young people and discuss with them, you know, certain things. But what I have found with American young people is they do not respect the value of money. There are so many young people I often talk to that at a very early age are up to their eyeballs in debt, because they buy things that are totally superfluous. So many young women need to have shoes that cost $400.
They need to? Or
They feel
think,
like they need to, you know, that they trendy. They think they need to be up to date and to live up to the standards of the Kardashians, you know, that kind of thing. And they understand you're not the Kardashians, you know, you can enjoy life without having $500 shoes. There's young people, 20-year-olds, who have $30,000 in debt from just cosmetics and superfluous things, not necessary things. Or they buy a car and have no idea how much they're paying for the car by the time they're done. The car is old before they probably never pay off the car. That's one of the things that I think people here should get a better understanding of.
Financial literacy.
It should be taught in school, in high school. There should be a mandatory thing.
I do remember when I started school here, I thankfully did not have to worry about tuition, because I have my graceful great government paying for it.
Right. Yeah.
When we were going to study sessions with other students that were American or non-American, you know, we talk about tuition. In one of my biology classes, I think she was a 19-year-old American girl, and she was telling me that she is already $25,000 in debt just because she's been paying for 2 years of college and her parents couldn't afford it.
That is another thing that shouldn't happen in a country like America. How can Germany do it and really put their kids through school with good education, and they don't end up with that kind of debt? And I know not everybody is privileged to go to a superior college in Germany if your grades aren't good, for example. The people that have the good educations are the ones that have the knowledge or the brains, and that's how it should be. But everybody can get a college education.
It shouldn't be about your parents' financial
Right.
status.
And here, I mean, it's stupid.
I'm starting to realize the value of money.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you know,
And
just
I think
like
I told you a couple of times. You're so lucky.
yes,
you
I
know.
am. My family didn't talk about money growing up. They just made it look like we had enough and it was easy. But I know now that my mom and dad, they worked hard for it to look that easy, for us to just have the basic,
Right.
you know, everyday things. I'm still trying to figure out how to save up best and invest best and make sure that I'm enjoying life, but also not at the expense of my future.
Right. Right.
Well, I don't know. I think this is enough. Well, thank you for not just this and being on camera with me, but also for making my stay in the US so much easier. You really helped me adapt. You helped me assimilate. You taught me the basic things that everyone takes for granted.
No, you taught me things and I taught you things, and that's the ideal way to do it. Hopefully I would like to learn for the rest of my life. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. ان شاء الله يكون عجبكم الفيديو، ان شاء الله عجبتكم تكمله المقابله. شكرا لكم كلكم اللي سويتوا لايك حق الفيديو الماضي، اللي حطيتوا لي تعليقات وقلتوا لي ان ودكم جزء ثاني. ترى بهذاك السبب عرفت ان الفيديو عجبكم ونزلت الجزء هذا، لان الامانه ما كنت مخطط اني انزل هذا، كنت مخطط اني انزل فيديو مختلف. فاذا عجبتكم نوعيه هذه من الفيديوهات حطوا لي الايموجي هذه عشان اعرف ان الفيديوهات هذه عجبتكم، لان ترى يعني ما راح اعرف ان الفيديوهات عجبتكم الا لما تقولوا لي ان الفيديوهات عجبتكم. فحطوا لي الايموجي هذه وان شاء الله نسوي فيديوهات اكثر بهذه الطريقه. لا تنسون تسوون لايك حق هذا الفيديو، تحطون لي تعليق، احب اقرا تعليقاتكم، واللايك هو الشيء الوحيد اللي يقول حق اليوتيوب ان الفيديو عجبكم. اللي ما بعد يسوي سبسكرايب يسوي سبسكرايب. في فيديوهات كثيره جايه بالطريق متحمس لها، فشكرا مره ثانيه واشوفكم الاسبوع الجاي.